John had always been used to living alone. After finishing college, he rented a small flat in an old part of the city. The place was cheap, only the building was a little too old. The locals told him that a family used to live there years ago, but the flat had been vacant ever since. John didn't pay much attention. All he needed was a quiet place where he could work on his office projects and edit his short films peacefully. For the first few days, everything seemed normal, but slowly something began to feel off. Late at night, he often heard faint footsteps coming from behind the walls. Sometimes it sounded like whispers, slow, muffled voices that made no sense. At first, he thought it was coming from the flat upstairs, until he learned that the apartment above had been locked for a year. That's when a strange fear started to creep into his mind. One night, while he was editing a video, the clock struck 1 a.m. Suddenly, the ceiling fan stopped spinning. The light flickered once and went out. The room went silent, completely still. Then, in the darkness, a whisper came, so close it felt like someone was standing right behind his ear. "Why did you hide the truth, John?" His entire body froze. He spun around, but there was no one there. Quickly, he turned on his phone's flashlight and scanned the room. Everything was in place, except for the mirror on the wall. It was slightly tilted. He straightened it and noticed faint finger marks on his cheek, as if someone had touched him. The next morning, he went to talk to the building's watchman, an old man who seemed uneasy as soon as John mentioned the strange noises. "Son," the old man said quietly, "that flat has a bad history. Years ago, a man lived there with his son. One night, they had a fight. The next day, the father disappeared. The son said he went out, but he never came back. A few months later, the son also vanished. Since then, no one stayed there for long." John frowned. "Did the police find anything?" The watchman hesitated, then said, "The police said it was all a lie. But people say something's hidden in those walls." That night, John stood in front of the same wall where the mirror hung. He noticed the paint at the bottom was peeling slightly. He tapped the wall. It sounded hollow. His heartbeat quickened. He grabbed a screwdriver and began scraping off the plaster. A strong, musty smell seeped out, piece by piece. The wall crumbled until something inside glimmered under his flashlight. When he pointed the light closer, his knees almost gave out. There was a dried-up human hand inside the wall, bones still wrapped in tattered bits of clothing. At that exact moment, the lights flickered on by themselves. The mirror began to shake violently. John looked up and saw that his reflection was gone. In its place was the face of an older man, eyes bloodshot with rage. "Now, you don't hide the truth, John," the man's cold voice echoed. John stumbled backward, trying to reach the door, but it slammed shut on its own. He shouted, banged on the walls, but the sound never left the room. It only echoed back at him. Inside the mirror, the man's face slowly curved into a chilling smile. And then, the entire mirror turned pitch black. The next morning, the watchman found the flat door wide open. The place was eerily silent. The wall that John had broken was sealed again, as if freshly repaired overnight. But one thing was missing. The mirror A few weeks later, a new tenant moved in. He hung an old mirror in the same spot, almost identical to the one before. And on his very first night, he thought he heard something. A slow, steady breathing sound coming from behind the wall. The room was quiet again, but behind the wall, the truth was still alive.